So if you look for shoe recommendations online, you're going to see a lot of people recommending the Endorphin Speed. And this is a fantastic shoe, so it's obvious why people would recommend it. And in 2022, Saucony is going to be updating the Endorphin Speed and the rest of their Endorphin line, as well as adding a ton of new exciting shoes. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first shoe I'm going to talk about that gets a lot of exciting updates is the Triumph 20. So the upper is still plush and looks kind of like a beefed up version of the Endorphin Speed 2. The midsole has tweaked Power Run Plus, which is their TPA pelleted foam, and is now softer and lighter. The stack height goes from 37mm to 27mm in the forefoot, so it now has a 10mm drop, which is increased from the former 8mm drop, which means that the forefoot just has a couple millimeters less cushioning in it. They tweaked the geometry so now it's more rockered, and it comes in at 9.7 ounces. The Triumph 20 is going to cost $160, and I think it's going to come out spring-summer. I'm not 100% sure though. Next up is a super exciting new model that I kind of touched on in my first impressions video of the Endorphin Shift 2, but that is the Tempus. So this is their new slight stability shoe with super foam, so that means it's going to have their Power Run PB pellets in the midsole, but it also has an EVA Power Run frame that adds some stability to the shoe. The stack height is 33mm in the heel, 25 in the forefoot with an 8mm heel to toe drop. It comes in at 8.9 ounces and will cost $160. So I believe the shoe is coming out in spring 2022, maybe as soon as March even, but this is one model I'm very excited about because people have had some stability issues with Power Run being a little too soft, and the kind of EVA frame on the shoe is going to help give it more structure. Plus, a lot of people that overpronate don't mesh well with super foam because they're typically super soft, so this gives people that need some of that extra support a great shoe that they can try out the super foam in, but also have that stability element. Next up is the Endorphin Shift 3. So this is another stable option from Saucony, and it gets a big makeover, but still keeps a lot of those stability elements like the wider platform, but instead of the external heel counter, the midsole now acts as a bucket seat design similar to what you see in Hoka's, where your foot sits down further in it. The midsole is still just regular EVA Power Run foam, but it is a softer formula than the previous versions. Plus, it does have Saucony's new TPU sock liner, which most of their new models are going to be using. It has a 38mm stack height in the heel, 34 in the forefoot with a 4mm heel toe drop. It weighs 10.4 ounces. And one of the main things about the outsole is it has a lot more rubber on it, so it's going to be more durable. The shoe stays at $140, and the Shift 3 will come out in fall of 2022. I think around October is the plan. Next up is one shoe that I'm really excited about, and that's the Endorphin Speed 3. So the crowd favorite gets some changes. First up with the upper, it is now more minimal with less overlays and seems to be just a little bit lighter. The midsole is still that Power Run PB foam, but now the plate gets some tweaks to it. So it's still S-shaped, but now it has wings that come out into the sides to add some stability in the midfoot, and you can actually see them peeking out of the midsole, so it's kind of like the wings of an airplane. The stack height is still 36mm in the heel, 28 in the forefoot with an 8mm heel to toe drop. It does just get a hair heavier at 8.1 ounces, but besides that, there is a redesigned outsole that seems to add just a little bit more coverage. So the Endorphin Speed 3 is going to stay at that $160 price point, and I believe it's aimed to come out around at the summer of 2022, I think around June. Alright, rounding out the Endorphin lineup is the Endorphin Pro 3, and this one's got some really exciting changes to it, so let's dive in. So Saucony really wanted to differentiate the Speed from the Pro, since in the past they were very similar, and honestly the Speed stole a lot of the Pro sales just because how similar they were, but it was a little bit softer and cheaper of course. So the upper seems to be lighter and similar to what we saw on the Endorphin Pro Plus, which is just that minimal airy mesh. The midsole is still Power Run PB, but it is now thicker. It's 39.5 millimeters in the heel and 31.5 in the forefoot, giving it an 8 millimeter heel to toe drop. It's still super lightweight at 7.2 ounces, and it does have a redesigned outsole as well, which adds some more coverage and grip. So with that thicker stack height, the shoe does get a higher price though. It is now going to be $225, which is a $25 price increase. Yet it's still $25 cheaper than the Endorphin Pro Plus, which was just crazy in my opinion. But anyways, I believe this shoe is going to come out around the same time as the Endorphin Speed 3, which is June of 2022, or that kind of summer-fall timeline. There's one more Endorphin shoe that is new, and that is the Endorphin Edge. And it's a trail shoe with a partial plate, but I think I'm going to dive into that on a separate video, but just look out for that, and it might replace the Endorphin Trail. I'm not quite sure what's up with that, so I'll get more information and throw that in a separate video. But there are a ton more Saucony shoes coming out in 2022, but unfortunately I'm not going to dive into those for this video, but I'll show you some images. We have the Freedom 5, Kinvara 13, the Ride 15, which I did a sneak leak 60-second peek video on, so check that out. And then there is a Ride 15 Trail, which gets a more aggressive outsole than the regular Ride 15, and then a little beefier upper. So with all these new exciting shoes coming from Saucony in 2022, which ones are you most excited for? Me personally, I think I'm looking forward to the Tempus, the Speed 3, and the Pro 3 the most. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my reviews of these shoes, and as always, keep on running.